everyone, this is Julia. Thank you so much for joining me on my craft room adventures, and today I'm back with day 12 of my 2020 holiday card series. Today, these super adorable mice from Fawn are getting ready for Christmas. They're wrapping up the presents and enjoying time by the fireplace, and of course, trimming the tree. So I stamped out all of my images from Fawn onto some Neenah Solar White cardstock, and as usual, I'm coloring my mice in my favorite E50 markers. As my darkest shade, I'm using E55, then I'm blending that out with E51. And by the way, all the sets that I used for this card will be listed in the video description. And then finally, I'm blending that out with E50, the E51. Off screen, I colored all of the other mice just in the exact same way. So now I'm using E59 for the tree trunk and also for the little stool. Then E57, and blending that out with E55. And the tree is actually from the Merry Mice stamp set, as well as the ornaments. But I just went ahead and the tree is blank. So I just went ahead and stamped 3 ornaments already in there so that it looks like they're already halfway there to having the tree all decorated and nice. So for the little cardboard box, I'm using E40 markers, E43 as my darkest shade, blending that out with E41 for the box and of course the lid as well, and then blending everything together with E40. Then for my red shades, I'm using R89 as my darkest shade, then R39, R37, and then R35. I wanted it to be a really rich red color, so I went in again with the R37 because the R35 was more reddish than the R37, so I just quickly went over it to make it all match. Then I'm using R80 markers for the other elements that are like reddish pink. I did go in with R89, then R85, blending that out with R83, and then R81 as my lightest shade. And off screen, I just colored all of the other elements that are this shade as well. Then for my tree and for the greens on the card, I'm using YG17. Just, in this case, adding flicks, and I also used this shade combination for the wreaths that you see there. Then blending that out with YG13. And then YG11. Then going in with an even darker shade, the BG96. And I really like this combination. Then going over that again with YG17. YG13. And then again with YG11. For my gold-yellow combination, I'm using the one that I've been using all the time lately. It's just my favorite. It's like a nice yellow gold, which is Y28, YR23, Y15, and Y11. Then I'm also going to color in the flames in the fireplace. So I'm using YR18, YR14, and YR12. And for a little bit of yellow, I'm using Y11. Bringing those same shades back for a second layer. YR18, YR14, and YR12. Then again with a yellow. Got the wrong end of the marker there. Then I'm using cool grays to color my fireplace. I started with C9 and C7 for the inside of the fireplace, and right next to the fire is C5. And then I went over the C5 area with Y11 and then also YR12 just to give it this like yellowish glow that you would get when the fireplace is on. And now I'm using C5, C3, C1, and C0 for the fireplace. I'm just using the C5 on the top of the mantle and also at the bottom. And then for the bricks, I'm just using the C3, C1, and C0. Just emphasizing each brick so that the fireplace gets a little bit of dimension. And off camera, I also ended up adding a second layer of all the colors on my fireplace just for a little bit more definition, but I'm trying to keep the length of my videos down as much as I can. But if you do want me to include like more coloring or more images of a certain combination, just let me know. And on the little log and the fireplace, I again use the E59 and E57 combination. Then I die cut a little piece of Bristol smooth cardstock with the snowy backdrop, and I'm just using chipped sapphire and blueprint sketch and a little bit of black soot on it because this will be the backing for my windows. Just blending the colors back and forth. And then I also die cut a strip of cardstock from white wood grain, and I'm ink blending that with some hickory smoke. The piece was just moving around all the time, so I just ended up using my waffle flower water media mat, and that helped a lot. Not really being too careful with, or careful at all really, because most of it will be covered up anyways with all my images, so it really didn't matter. And I also die cut the straight stitched piece from the fence border twice out of gray wood grain cardstock just to be act as my baseboards. I used the largest of the stitched slimline rectangles, and I'm just using some hickory smoke distress ink and the brick stencil to add some brick details. Not adding too much of the ink, then I'm just lining up the stencil again for the other side and doing the same thing over there. Then I'm also adding a little bit of the Sicko Shimmer Spritz onto my sky piece. Just thought that would add a nice touch, even though you can't see too much, but in person you can definitely see the shine. I die cut one of the fancy wavy banners from Fawn, and I didn't have a matching cardstock, so I just used the same red color combination that I used for my images on the banner, and now I just stamped the wavy winter sentiments, I think they're called. The Merry Christmas from that in Wow Super Fine Embossing Powder in white. Just using my brush to brush away any excess or stray embossing powder. And I'm pretty sure my stamp had some like fibers on it because I got a lot more like stray bits than I would usually get. I need to make sure to clean that properly. Off to the side, my heat gun was already heating up, so now I'm just running it over the sentiment until it's smooth and melted. And when it was dry, I just quickly used a baby wipe over it to remove any of the anti-static powder tool residue. Then I cut a piece of red cardstock that was 1/4 of an inch larger than the largest stitched rectangle all around, so that I would have an 1/8 inch border. Then I added my floor piece, and now I'm just adding the, well, baseboards, I guess, from my little scene. Now I'm just assembling the windows. I also die cut them out of gray wood grain cardstock. To figure out where everything else in my scene needs to go, I needed to center the fireplace, so I'm just using a grid stencil or grid transparency to line that up. Then I'm just gluing that down with liquid glue. Just making sure that my sentiment works above the fireplace. Then again, adding liquid glue to the backs of the windows. And just to be sure that they're all equally spaced, I'm just counting the squares on my grid transparency on either side. And I'm also using the bricks to just line them up. And then just pressing that down. And I'm also adding the wreaths to the windows. Wasn't quite sure if I wanted them in the center or on the top. I decided to go with the top edge of the window frame. Then I'm also adding the cookies for Santa and the candle to the top of the fireplace. Again, making sure that there's still enough room for the sentiment. Then I'm adding 3 little stockings. And then also placing the bow over top of that. Now I'm putting down the rug that my Christmas tree will go on. Making sure I already played with it a bit before so that I adhered low enough that you can at least see most of the wreath up top when I add the star to the top of the tree. Then, since I don't have the dice, I just used a craft knife to cut a slit into the little cardboard box. And I'm just adding the mouse from Really High Five to that so that he's just playing around, not really helping the others wrap presents, but just playing and jumping out of the box and making a mess. And I just can't imagine that should be so funny. Well, unless you really need to wrap presents, then, you know, he will get told off, I'm sure. Then I'm just adding all of the pieces of the images together. I'm adding the scissors and the ribbon to the 2 mice that are sitting down, and the 2 that are decorating the tree. One goes on top of the little stool, and the other gets an ornament to hang. He also gets an ornament in hand, and I just made sure to alternate the colors so that it looks like they're hanging a different color than what they're standing next to, if that makes sense. And now I just added foam tape to the other mice, and this one I just adhered down flat because other will be in front of it. And I just placed down my mice. I didn't press them down yet. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted the layout to be. I did know that I want the mama and the baby to look at the fireplace and the stockings because I thought that would just be cute. And the other ones, of course, next to the tree. Then I ended up taking off the wrapping paper, and even though I tore the cardstock a bit, you're not going to be able to tell afterwards, so it's totally fine because that just I really like that placement better. Just gluing that down again, then adding my mice and also adding the little tape dispenser. Now I'm pressing everything down, and I'm also removing the backing sheets for the foam squares on my sentiment strip. And now I'm just pressing that down. Now it's time to embellish. I used the Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen as usual in glitter gloss, just going over all the ribbons and the wrapping paper, the, what is it called, the bow and the stockings and all of the ornaments, the star, well, basically almost everything. I wasn't quite sure because I really wanted to add something to the wrapping paper, but I just decided to add the shine first. Then I'm going in with some Stardust stickles and I'm covering the tops of the stockings and also the little cutouts from the snowy backdrop in the windows, a little bit to the fire. Then I'm going in with Nuvo Crystal Glaze and I'm adding that to all of the ornaments. Also the top of the candle, the milk glass, and also to the top of the tree, the star. Oh no, I'm actually adding stickles there. I thought I added, well, you know, that's why I record, so I remember. No, I just really wanted to add some more to the wrapping paper. Sorry, my head is popping in there. I'm just using a white gel pen to add some dot details. And that finishes off my card for today. I had so much fun making this. Oh my god, I adore those mice. And I can just imagine them playing, wrapping presents, making a mess, decorating the tree, and just having such a lovely time. Those family mice are just the cutest. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I had so much fun on it. And I hope that you're having a good holiday season so far. And today, no, I'm sorry, tomorrow, I will be back with a brand new holiday card video. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye!